He's the author of the new book, Arguing with Idiots Hitting Bookstores, on September 22nd. And moments ago, Glenn Beck went on the record. Glenn, nice to see you.
Good to see you, Greta.
Glenn, these tea parties, certainly a big day here in Washington on Saturday. What do you think about it?
I think that it doesn't matter if any newspaper published how many people were there. We had, where was it? University of Illinois, I think, did a spatial count and looked at the photos and said, I think it was 1.7 million people there. It doesn't matter if they say there were 3. The people that are wandering the halls of Congress and the White House know exactly how many people were there.
What about the composition of the people, the demographics?
What about the, I didn't.
What about the demographics? I mean, the age, the background. What do you think about the type of people, sort of the demographics of the people who are attending tea parties or protests?
I don't know. I really haven't. I mean, I guess I should look up closer to these people. I see right there in the front, looks like young people, old people. I did hear, how did Bill Maher describe them? Geriatrics. I think they're Americans. What's the difference what they look like or what their age is?
I guess what's sort of interesting to me is that you typically, and I guess there's no such thing as typically, but typically, I thought of protesters years ago almost as, hippies, anti-war, that this is,
I see what
this
you're
is
saying.
a different collection of sort of demographics.
These people have never really gotten off of their couch and ever protested anything before. These people are, generally speaking, wildly uncomfortable doing this. However, I spoke to several of them earlier today on my radio program, and they were all saying the same thing. I've never felt anything like it. It is something that people are feeling deep in their heart, and connecting with others that feel like them. I think, it is a huge relief, a release of steam and tension. It's better to have these people connect like this than to have them bottle it up and feel all alone. But these people they've never done this before.
What do they want?
I think they want their voice to be heard. I think the White House couldn't handle it any worse than they already have. The first time they marched on April 15th, the White House came out and said, these Tea Partiers, no, the president's not even aware of it going on. How do you dismiss what some are saying is one of the largest collections of marchers ever in Washington? How do you just dismiss that? And they're dismissing it, along with the media, they're dismissing these people as partisans. They're not. They want an end to corruption. They want people in Washington to start listening to them. They want Washington to slow down, read the bills, and explain it. Excuse me? You're saying you're making jobs with your stimulus package. Well, we haven't seen that by any stretch of the imagination. And any job that you're building right now, when you're building polar bear exhibits at museums, that's not a lasting job. That's not one that's going to transform America.
In many ways, you are sort of the cable news poster child for these tea parties. Fair enough? Fair description? I mean, people sort of...
I guess it's fair to be able to say that on the fact that 6 months ago I said that we need to reconnect with our values and our principles, and I laid out the 9-12 project, the 9 values and 12 principles, and that is part of what this has come out of. Yeah, so I think that's fair.
It's interesting how in April, I think people wondered whether this was a grassroots movement that was going to have some sort of life, or sort of whether it was a fluke. And now we see more people gathered on Washington. But again, it's got to think of it. Is this something? Is there going to be more of this? Is this, or have we reached the end of this?
I have to tell you, I wasn't down in Washington, but I heard from people who were down in Washington, and they all said the same thing. We're coming back. We're going to do more. They're even more energized now. Anybody who thinks this is going to turn into a political party should be very, very cautious, because these people have not latched on to either political party. They are much more independent. They've been burned. The conservatives have been burned badly by their Republicans. And anybody who thinks they're going to come in and say, yeah, I'm just like you, and boy, and then they're going to go in and do the same kind of politics, these people will back them into a corner so fast their head will spin.
All right, you say they want to be heard. They want the members of Congress to read the bills. Are there other sort of specific demands that they really want our government, besides the sort of the, they want to be heard, but what specifically?
They want the spending to stop. Greta, everybody knows that we cannot continue this rate of spending. It doesn't make any sense. It gets to the point of criminal. Our children, if I hear this from one, I've heard it from 1,000 people that attend these, and that is, we've got to stop the spending. I'll pay the price. I don't care what it takes. I'll live the hard life if my grandchildren will still have an America that they can call home and recognize. Stop the spending and putting it onto the backs of our children and grandchildren. It makes no sense whatsoever. It's irresponsible. It's criminal. It's criminal.
Is there some current politician who you think most identifies or is listening to the Tea Party protest or movement?
No, I mean, I think there are several that have been true to their own values for a while. I think Jim DeMint is one of those guys. I think Pence is one of those. I think Sarah Palin, but I don't think Palin is, I think, attractive to some of the Tea Party goers because the true Tea Party goers, at least the way I see it, the true Tea Party goers, or the true 9/12 people, are the ones that say, forget your party. Clean up, take the beam out of your own eye before you look at the splinter in the other. And that is, I think, what needs to happen. And that's what Sarah Palin did, that I think so many of the Tea Party goers find attractive. She took apart the Republican Party before she even thought about the Democrats. She took them down and cleaned up the corruption.